Hey, it's Tim. I'm in Indy on Saturday afternoon. We are sort of in the lull before the excitement tonight with finals. And I'm talking to the wonderful Michael Raiford. It's wonderful to be sitting in person. You've done some wonderful conversations with me for the podcast, but this is great to be doing in person.
Thank you, Tim. You're a real person. I love that.
I know. I'm a real person. I'm actually sitting here.
I thought I was going to have to sit here and close my eyes to talk to you. Like,
I know. Like, imagine
just
it
a
like
voice.
it is. That's what's so interesting is whenever I meet someone that knows the podcast, they're like, "Oh, that's the voice,"
Right.
and I'm like, I forget that it comes out of me. I don't know.
It does come out of you.
I don't know. That was a little aside, but Michael,
Whatever you need.
You've been working with the Troopers.
I have.
I think doing great work
Thank
as
you.
always.
You're very kind.
And I sent you a note because I think the show is beautiful, and there are all these circular tarps with these interesting designs.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to understand. I always want to understand what is going on with the show. Like, I understand it on a very broad level. It makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm like, I don't get it at all.
Sure.
But the unique designs with the hearts and the iterations of the circles and the colors, I was wondering if you would explain to me and everybody how that developed and why it's there and that kind of thing.
Certainly. It's actually super simple. I wanted a way to just do a study on targets. And just the way that people in music will do, variations, and you have plenty of composers that just do variations. It's really all it is. So in order to tie it into the show, I knew I wanted to do targets, but it'd be so easy to just do the Target logo.
Right, and that now has a meaning.
It has a meaning. And so I started looking for artists that might be of inspiration, and I started in the early 20th century because the Prokofiev, the Romeo and Juliet was written early 20th century.
I'm going to interrupt him and say this is my favorite classical piece of all time. And like 2 different choruses played it this summer. I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
And I love the Troopers rendition.
Well, thank you. I thought it was a nice way to take that core and play something that was a traditional piece of music and just give it a different face.
Yeah.
And so that also gave it a little bit of a freshness. So I was looking,
I love it. Yeah.
Good.
No, that's it.
Well,
just
good.
want to make sure mention
Okay,
how
we're
much I
done.
love that they're playing the Prokofiev. Keep going.
So I started doing research, because research is important, for abstract artists, early 20th century, and these particular shapes of targets. And I ran upon a woman who was a very early abstract artist, and her name was Hilma af Klint, Klint. And she was Swedish, and she was one of the first women abstract people. And she did these studies that, I don't know if she meant them to be targets, but you look at it and you go, oh, it's concentric circles. And she had split them down the middle, which gave it a duality. And I literally took one of those and then did 15 variations. I just started riffing on it myself visually. And then the other thing was, the costume is based on a traditional fencing costume, but modernized, just one arm to accentuate where the foil is and all that. Well, the part that's missing is where the heart would be. And so I just took that heart and translated that into those designs as well. So the heart really comes from your fencing costume. And then, of course, you happen to have Nessun Dorma, which is, the very cold woman with the black heart. And that's just how that, that really became a wonderful series of riffing and what design can do when you're in the moment and all that stuff. So that's where it came from. It was, and so there are truly 15 target studies. That
really interesting.
Yeah.
And the color palette of them was obviously sort of planned for the show, those choices of colors.
It was. You have a very specific look, a very specific drum corps with a palette that needed to work for that. So you had to have something where that cream and gold and blue was going to work. Funny thing was, one of her best original pieces was similar to that color palette.
Oh.
And at the end of the day, it's odd how this show ends up being a bit of a red, white, and blue plus purple.
Interesting.
In it. I mean, it just happened to be, and then your flags that are in the show, because you have a big background and the core with the band in the core in mostly blue and the guard in mostly red. I needed a foreground that was simple. So your flags are super simple, and if you actually watch the show, where the first flag come up that's purple is where purple is dominant on the field, and where the Nessun Dorma, the black hearts come off the black heart, and the red flag comes where red is dominant. And then the end of the show, I just literally took those studies and brought them forward.
Yeah.
Added a color we hadn't seen, which was that green, the lime green, to pop it away. And that's just really the flow of the show and the design. So it's pretty simple, really.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is, it's simple in a way that's so beautiful.
Well, thank you.
That's the whole point. Is that we talked about the research we always talk with designers about. it's a lot more work than you think to do it right. And I'm like hours and hours of researching and studying,
Yes.
making decisions and talking and
Right.
having discussions and starting again and
Yeah.
all of that. And I think a lot of times people don't realize all the hours and blood and sweat and tears that goes into it. And so I love when I can hear someone like you describe a little bit of that process.
My favorite Michael Cesario quote in the world is when somebody asked him how long did it take him to draw that. He said, 35 years. It's like it's also the experience and the time and all that.
Everything in your life
there.
that you've done and worked on
Sure.
is going into that.
It is going into that.
Which is why something that Michael Raiford can do that's so beautiful may not be something someone else can do because they don't have all of that experience. But they can still do the work.
You're so kind. Do you want to be my agent?
Sure.
I mean, I have one, but you can
Because I have nothing going on. I have plenty of time to take on one more thing. But thank you for explaining that because I thought it was really nice. It was very clear how it tied into the idea of the targets, and I got that. But I thought, is there what levels are there to all of these designs? Should I know more about what they specifically mean? And I, of course, not that I'm one to overanalyze anything.
Attaboy.
But
and do podcast after podcast after podcast about it.
Yeah, but
I love that.
But I thought I wanted to know, am I missing anything? And I love the fact that it's sort of, I don't know. It strikes me as almost like a palette of a feeling of an idea that they're working from.
And great.
Is that a strange way to say it?
Not at all. And I think that also it's not perfectly clear when you see it because all first dates should leave with a little mystery, right?
Yes. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So you wanted people to sort of think.
There has to be a little bit. If I truly went out there and put 15 red and white targets, besides everyone joking about it being Target, it would be like, and done. The good movies are the ones that you walk out talking about. If they draw everything up and sew it and put a bow on it at the end, you walk out just wondering where you're going to go for dinner or cocktails. You don't go out talking about it. So you always, you always want to have something that's a little bit of a mystery.
Well, and mission accomplished because we're sitting here talking about it. I wanted to know. No, really, you did. I also think it's really interesting because to me, the the one in the center on the 50 is the one that to me was most clear.
Uh-huh.
I know that's not a mistake.
It's why it's there.
It's not a mistake.
No, it is the
but
one
I thought that one I think is explains the show unto itself. Almost.
It is the summarization of all. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's there. Nah.
Wow.
I hate to be that simple, but it's that simple.
No, I love that it's simple. I think all great ideas are simple. In fact, one of my complaints is just sometimes when a show is so complicated that I like to feel smart when I watch a show. I always say this. I like give me enough clues.
Right.
And when I watched the Trooper show, I was like, I get what this is. I just wanted to know a little bit more because I knew
that's great.
You could tell me.
There you go. I did it.
I think you're awesome. Thank you for doing
kind.
all these conversations
Absolutely.
with me.
Thank you very much.
And for sharing your expertise with the activity.
Oh, thank you. I love it. I truly love it. This activity gave me everything I have, and these performers every day make me believe in the future, and I mean that. I'm gonna cry again. It's true.
Awesome. It's awesome. And you're, a little aside, I've just found out he's a jazz drummer.
Yep.
I never would have guessed that.
Why not? I'm crazy.
No. You conquered theater and art and movement and marching and color guard, and then I didn't know you were like that too.
Yeah, that's what got me into drumming.
What do you cook and leap off tall buildings? What other superheroes things do I not know about?
Yes, but I don't clean. Cook, but don't clean.
That's the best way to do it.
I'm going to get in trouble for that one.
It's not a surprise to anyone listening, I think, probably. All right. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
Thanks, man.